Hello. At the time I am recording this, it is currently January 21st, 2025, and it has been officially a full year, full 365 days of being out of a relationship. And I was thinking about it a lot, obviously. I was looking back at the person that I was a year ago and the person that I am now. And I felt very compelled to make a video talking about how I have dealt with it and any advice. And I know that a lot of people make these types of videos, but for some reason I just felt called to talk about this and offer any comfort that I can for anybody that is experiencing the loss of a relationship. And for me, this relationship was very troubling. This was hard because this was one of the first relationships, and it was a very long relationship, where it felt different. And I know everybody says, oh, this relationship's different, it's different, but when you are so in love with somebody, and you think that you have found your person, because for me, I felt like I did. This person understood me on a level that nobody else did. I felt very seen by them. It was like they were like my mom, where they could just tell something was wrong even though I was putting on my best friend. That type of intimate relationship where that person knows you better than you know yourself and sees your tendencies, your flaws, and you've gone through hardships. Me and this person went through so much hardship. We went through loss together. Our families got along very, very well, and they took care of me during a time where I was very, very sick. And they just provided for me, and I provided for them. It was I couldn't see myself with anybody else. We had very similar goals. We had very similar ideologies where we were very much in alignment. That's what I meant to say. Word vomit. We were in alignment is pretty much what I would say, because yeah, I mean, what else can you say? I just thought I was in the perfect relationship. Well, obviously, reading the title, hearing the intro, it didn't work out, and I was devastated. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the specifics, but I feel like it's important to note as I kind of talk about the process. The reason my relationship ended was my partner ended up coming out. I got in a relationship with a man, and they are transitioning. So, very unique situation. I did kind of sense it was coming, but, obviously it's very shocking to hear, because, that kind of turned my whole life upside down. All these plans that I had been making with this person, and all this huge relationship that I had built, and the work that I had done within the relationship, it all just kind of went crashing down. And a year ago, I was I couldn't even imagine ever finding something in someone that understood me as well as they did, and having the relationship and the type of intimate, not even just people, when they think of intimacy, they think of just the physical aspect, just emotional, and that I couldn't even imagine finding that in somebody else. I literally was ruined. But all that to be said, obviously that was not the case. But yeah, I wanted to offer some advice on what I did and what advice I would give to other people of what I would do different, because I just, now that I'm on the other side of it, I think I just really want to share and help other people going through a similar thing. So the first thing that I did after we had the conversation about breaking up was, and I think that this was very responsible on both of our ends, was make a shared note, a list, mutually agree upon boundaries. And I always say, no contact, best method. If I were to do anything different, I would have severed contact sooner. Because even though it's hard, it is the best thing to do. especially when it's the first like month or two of just feeling like just that full on, like you're distressed, you're not like, you know, you just really lost somebody important to you. Like, you know, it's best to not have any contact with this person. But again, because of the unique situation I had, we didn't completely ever cut contact. But that's what I would do differently, I suppose. But make a list of boundaries, because you are going to be tempted to reach out, to try to get closure, explain yourself, whatever. Don't. Boundaries. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. For me, because I still saw them around, we were not being alone together, whether it's inside or out. No contact on like any social media and things like that. And you know, even though we had mutual friends, like making sure that we are not crossing any boundaries of, at the time we agreed like anything beyond an acquaintance. But again, ideally, no contact is the best. And stay hold to those boundaries, because if you don't, you are going to make the process so much harder for yourself, because it is tempting and you can want it so bad, but you shouldn't. Because just think about the self-destruction that comes with that. And, you know, it's not going to be easy, but it's a necessary process in moving on. Another thing is to take it day by day. In the beginning of the breakup, I wouldn't even try to dig deep into it and really analyze it. Distraction. You're going to be too upset, too emotionally vulnerable. Distract yourself. Take it day by day, because there were some days where I was like, I don't even want to get out of bed. I'm like, I'm so sad. And then there were other days where I was a little bit more logical. I'm like, okay, we broke up for a reason. I'm gonna do this. What I did at the beginning, I was always around my friends, you know, because I felt like at any time I was alone, I was gonna get really sad. And we would watch like trashy reality TV, because it was funny. Do something that distracts you. Even though you don't want to do it, go outside. Go for a walk. During like this past summer, walking was so peaceful for me. Especially that was around the time where I could start to kind of think about it and think about that like relationship and how it ended and how to move on. Walking was very peaceful. It was therapeutic for me. Really helped me. And put your makeup on, do your hair, get dressed. Even though you don't want to, do it. For me, I picked up extra hours at work. I was trying to hang out with friends all the time, and I would keep busy until I was tired, because you just, like, when it comes to situations like that where it's so early on, the best thing to do is just distract yourself. And then over time, you can start to think more about the process of like the relationship. And this kind of goes into my next point, is detaching your thinking and mourning the relationship that you had and not the person. Because the more time that you spend apart from each other, you are going to diverge paths. You are inevitably going to go in different directions, become different people. And even if you were to get back together, your relationship would not be the same as it was. And, you know, you have to accept the fact that that relationship is over. It ended for a reason. And, you know, you can be sad about the intimate connection that you had. You can be sad about the connections within the relationship with family and the things that you used to do. But you don't have them anymore. You are not with that person. And for me, that was a little bit more obtainable for me, because again, considering the situation I am, their appearance changed very rapidly as well. So it was easier for me to kind of conceptualize that relationship being in the past, because they looked different than when I was in a relationship with them, because they were out, they were actively transitioning. So that being said, you know, detaching your thinking really, really helped me, because it definitely helped me process the fact that this is in the past and all I can do is move forward. And, you know, again, in that moving forward, because you are going to be really sad about it, you know, like people, you know, when you lose somebody that was in your life very frequently, it's sad. But you have to, you know, unfortunately, you know, life goes on without that person. The sun still rises instead. The tide still rolls in and out. Like, life goes on. The world doesn't stop spinning because you are not in a relationship with this person. And you can either wallow in your sadness, or you can get up and do something about it. Commit to that self-care and preservation is my next point. It is going to be incredibly uncomfortable once you are outside a relationship to deal with the fact that that person's presence is not occupying as much of your time. You don't realize how much time you have until a significant amount of time that you took doing something is gone. I didn't realize how much a difference a year makes, or even like a week, when I have more time, you know? I think that that's like, you know, just kind of something important to note, because I feel like we definitely lose ourselves in time. And yeah, just kind of taking back ownership of your life as a single person. It's gonna be uncomfortable to sit with yourself. You will probably have to address either some toxic behaviors or attachment styles. And like for me, I definitely had to examine a lot of uncomfortable things that had happened in the past relationships, not only just in the relationship, like that relationship, but like, you know, again, other relationships, collectively, my experiences and my past mistakes, and, you know, learning to work on things that make you uncomfortable so you can eventually be a better person, not only just for yourself, but, you know, when you have put in the work for yourself and you have become self-sufficient, and you have really like just put in the work where you don't even think about being in a relationship with anybody else. Like, you know that you have reached a spot of emotional maturity and wellness where you don't deem it necessary to be in a relationship. And for me, what really helped me do this, even though it was scary, is to pretend like I was never going to be in a relationship again and I was going to stay a single person. Because that's the attitude I needed to have in order to gain more, you know, independence. Because my personal struggle is, I definitely do struggle with an anxious attachment style and codependency. And for me, like, accepting and learning how to do things on my own and know and have confidence that I can do it on my own was so helpful, because now I have faith that I can do it on my own. And as soon as you stop wanting a relationship and yearning for a relationship, it'll come to you, because people can sense when you have that confidence in yourself. It will come to you. If it is meant to be, it will be. So do the work now. Do it. It's gonna suck. Every second of it'll suck, but it gets easier. And, you know, and this is my next point, don't be tempted to fall back into these old behaviors, and old relationships, old friendships that no longer suit you because they are comfortable. Oftentimes when we're faced with uncertainty, we want to find some sense of familiarity. There is a reason certain relationships don't work out. And I found when I was starting to do a lot more self-analysis and put in more emphasis into self-care, I realized that there was a lot of relationships, friendships, and what have you, that no longer suited me. My friend group now is completely different than the type of friends that I had last year. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, as I started to do the work, I found that those relationships no longer suited me. And just because you do not have like an intimate romantic relationship, that does not mean that you do not and you cannot form like intimate friendships and relationships with your family. Like, you know, I have really, like, you know, connected with my friends. I fostered new friendships. I pulled some of my friends that I was just casual, like, friends with, and I pulled them in closer, and we're really close friends now. Like, you know, for me, I needed to surround myself and reconnect with the women in my life, and you know, like, heal my relationship with my parents, my mom, my dad, and my siblings, and you know, like, talk to the, you know, I've been hanging out with, like, my best friends more recently, and, you know, just finding fulfillment in other relationships, and not going back to tendencies that are not good. They ended for a reason. Like, do not try, like, people, you know, there's that saying where it's like, best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody. Don't do casual hookups or anything like that. It might fix the problem for a little bit of, like, time, but in the long run, it's not good for you. Be content with being alone. You know, don't go back to your ex. You know, you have to accept the fact that, like, you are single, and you can either do the work and eventually open yourself up to another romantic opportunity. Even though you're playing the long game, you are playing the more, you know, fulfilling game. Because if you eventually want a secure and safe relationship, you also have to have those qualities and that confidence within yourself. And yeah, so my last point, and this is something that was more of a recent development as I was kind of looking back on my past year and all of, like, the work that I've done, and there's still a lot of work I need to do. But my main point is open yourself back up to love, and put your love and faith in other people. Don't be bitter. Don't be a bitter person. You know, as single people, sometimes I see people get upset about other people being in a relationship and wanting a relationship. Don't be bitter about what other people have. Be content and find happiness in what you do have. And open yourself up to the opportunity to love somebody else again. Put yourself out there. It's not easy, but I believe that the strongest and the bravest thing that you can do is love somebody after you have faced so much hardship in your life. Love and faith will conquer all, like, negative energy, negative situations. If you have that positive outlook, you will attract people that have that same sort of energy. And, you know, for me, what really kind of nailed it in that I am a different person than the person that I was last year was, in fact, a couple days ago. Literally, like, some sort of, like, divine timing or what have you. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just, like, superstitious. But is I, like, you know, this past year I've definitely talked to a few other people. I've kind of explored my options, and kind of within that had to learn a lot about my boundaries and what I am and what I'm not able to put up with. But I was very interested in somebody, and I just straight up, like, put my feelings out there. And although that didn't really work out, you know, I find a lot of pride in the fact that that's something I don't think I would have been able to do a year ago. And, you know, even though I got rejected, I am not sad. I'm not bitter. It is what it is. I'm okay with that. I'm content. I'm like, you know what? I'm cool. I'm cool with doing me. That's cool. And to like have that, like, actual comparison of, like, oh, like, a year ago to that date, I was going through a breakup. Like, that was a couple days before I broke up with this person. It's crazy to me, and that's what I mean when I say you don't know what's gonna happen in a year. And yeah, like, I kind of just wanted to close this by reiterating the fact that, like, you know, if anybody is going through a really hard situation, a hard breakup, you know, I feel for you. You know, it does get better. It doesn't feel like it, but, you know, don't wallow in your sadness. Get up. Enjoy life. There is so much love and abundance out there for you. Don't settle for anything less than what you are worth. Put in the work to yourself. Don't be tempted by what is comfortable. Set those boundaries. You'll be surprised how many people and how many situations that will come out of the woodwork as you're going through this journey will try to test your sense of growth. Stick to it. Know your worth, because you are worth more than that. And relationships, they end for a reason. Whether the reason is mutual or not, they ended for a reason. And you just have to trust that what is meant to be will be, and find contentment within yourself. But yeah, I don't know why I had the feeling to share that. You know, I hope that things get better, and thank you for listening. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.